Did you see that video of Antonio Brown with his doctor, and he was just farting really loud? Did you see
I did. That was different. That was weird. I didn't know what to think of that.
It was.
What did you think of it? Like, that was just odd.
Yeah, people were really upset about it. I think people were more upset because they were already upset with him. But I thought it was hilarious. I mean, these were loud, like room shakers. It was, and he just.
I think that, people were kind of hate him right now. So that's probably why people were so mad. People are just gonna keep looking for reasons to be mad at him.
Yeah, imagine being hated so much that you can't even fart without someone being offended.
Well,
I mean, is that normally an offensive thing? Like,
I don't know. Probably.
We're talking about opening our show. We're opening our show talking about farts. What the hell is wrong with us, man? Welcome back to the Hawk Jock podcast. I'm the Fitz, once again joined by Hawk Jock creator and my co-host, Ryne. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. Just nursing my last summer cold, I guess, of the year. So that's fun to end off this warm weather with.
Yeah, I'm right there, man. I woke up a couple days ago and my throat was feeling scratchy, and it's just progressively getting worse, and now I'm just feeling exhausted. Yep, it's hitting me hard, and it's supposed to rain on Saturday, so sitting in that all day probably, I'm sure, won't help at all, but hey, we're troopers.
Right, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Understand. Hopefully 50,000 strong, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, 50,000. Man, if we hit 50K, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, man. I'll see if someone tries to hold me to it, but I doubt somebody will. And I obviously doubt that Memorial Stadium would even let it happen.
That's true. They wouldn't. But who knows? Maybe Jeff Long, he's kind of crazy. Maybe he'll let you do it.
Let's hope not. Hopefully he didn't see that tweet, so we'll see.
We can make sure that he sees that tweet.
Whatever. Relax. Well, let's get right into it, man. Boston College. What the heck, man? I mean, talk about it. What do you think?
Man, I was screaming like a girl. Those babies were high pitched at some point. I felt like it was just so out of nowhere, and this wind just felt different. We can get into that a little bit later too, but we looked like a real football team, and I had a couple of friends there that are KU fans, but they watch it because they watch college football, all football really, and they were impressed. We hadn't seen a team like this for a long time. That was fun. I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they were the better team, and it's rare that Kansas looks like they're the better team, especially when they're playing a team like that on the road. Yeah, it didn't look like it was a fluke game. It looked like they just straight up dominated. The game was, Les Miles coached it better than Steve Adazio, which makes sense because Les Miles he's been around for longer, and he's done some incredible things. So that was encouraging to see. Overall, though, man, it was just exciting. Probably the most exciting game we've seen in a decade at least. And this program needs it. They definitely need it. And that BC game...
They really needed that one.
Oh, absolutely. You go in and you lose to BC, especially if you lose big. You're 1-2. You just got your butts whooped. You lost to Coastal Carolina the week before. You're going into Big 12 play just not looking good. And looking like another 1-win season. Now, you go to BC, you thump them. You don't just beat them, you thump them. Double their score, beat them 48-24 on the road. Offense looks the best that we've seen. That's the best offense I've seen Kansas have since the Mangino days. And it just almost looks like, okay, now every Big 12 game, we might have a chance. I'm not saying we're going to win them all or win any of them, but it looks like we could at least compete.
And that's what all KU fans wanted this year. Yeah. I know that some of us have, and some people have kind of got their hopes up thinking we're going to go to a bowl game this year. But realistically, most KU fans, or a lot of KU fans, just wanted to be competitive this year and not look like fools out there.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
And that's pretty much it. And there's just not.
This game just how it started. I just thought, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We all had that feeling, bro.
And I'm like, because we get to Johnny's, and that was within the first 3 minutes, yeah. We had given up a touchdown, and Stanley threw an interception on his third. Looks like we're going to be leaving early, so this ain't going to be too expensive of a night. And then all of a sudden, things took a turn for the better real quick, and they never looked back.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was definitely impressive how it all went down, especially the start of the game being down 10-0, and for KU to march on back, it was impressive. So, what was the one that really impressed you the most?
I thought that Carter Stanley coming back after he threw an interception on his third pass and coming back and having a game like that I think it's really hard not to be incredibly impressed by that.
Yeah.
Especially last week, I'm sure his confidence wasn't near as high. And I'm sure that interception on any normal person would have just, knocked you down. And I think that had to have been one of the most impressive that I probably wasn't ready for. I'm kind of ready for our rushing game to do something similar to what they did. Maybe not that good, but something similar. I wasn't expecting Carter Stanley to come out, have a game like that after the game against Coastal Carolina, and then especially after throwing an interception on his third throw. So coming back, Carter Stanley just showed he's a gamer and jumping over defenders and lowering his shoulder, and that was fun to watch. I could watch him do that all day, every game.
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat, and I'm gonna say two. I'm gonna say the offensive line. They looked absolutely incredible. I think spreading the offense out made things a lot easier for them. It took teams out of stacking the box, because they would just stack the box on us, and our offensive line just couldn't handle it. So now we spread that defense out a bit, spread our offense out, and it gives more room for the running backs to run, and it takes pressure off the offensive line. But also, I'm going to go ahead and say the offensive coordinator, or really, I heard the RPO, this style of offense was brought in from Brent Dearman, who is a offensive analyst. So maybe he's the guy that we should be thanking. But it was just
and he wrote a book on RPO.
Yeah,
I've never read it, so I can't tell you if it's good, but I guess judging by that game, it is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it works out through the Big 12, but because I'm sure Les made it pretty clear they're gonna stick with it because it was successful. So why not? But the difference is now a team has film on it. BC didn't have film on it. We went into that game and they're looking at this offense and they're thinking, what in the hell is happening? They're like, we haven't even seen this. They haven't even played a team that had run that style of offense, and their defense is just like out of sorts, man. And they don't really have great linebackers, and their linebackers were just all over the place, man. I mean, we scored how many possessions in a row, and it just seemed like they just could not stop our offense, which to me was just incredible to watch. It was just incredible. It brings hope for the program, for sure.
It does. It does. A lot of hope. Finally, we have hope.
I know.
Let's be honest. We all lost it after the Coastal Carolina game. Or we lost a lot of it.
Yeah. At least this season. Season. Not for the future, but for this season. Yeah, and
we lost some hope.
Yeah, and people still would support at least the real tight fans, the ones that are real close to the program. But those ones that were kind of looking from the outside in, they pretty much lost them. But after this BC game, I think the program dragged those guys back in, and now they're like, okay, this is what we're talking about. Finally, an offense. If we lose and we still have this type of offense, we make it fun. If we lose 58 to 57 or something, that at least is still worth going to the game because that's going to be one heck of a game. So
at least that's fun to watch. I mean, think about the Chiefs-Rams game last year. That was one of the best. That game ruined the NFL season for me last year because it was so fun to watch, even though the Chiefs lost. But how fun! But if we score high 30s, if we lose and we score in the high 30s, low 40s, and the other team outscores us, that's a fun game to watch. We look competent. I don't think a lot of teams are going to score that many points on us. I don't think we're going to have a lot of teams score even 48 on us because of our secondary. I think they are good if they just catch the dang ball. How many interceptions could we have had? I think I stopped counting at 4. They hit our defensive backs in the hands.
We got to start catching those.
Do what?
We got to start catching those. That's going to be a big part.
Yeah, absolutely. But those are going to be. We scored 48 against a good team, and I think they probably have as good a defense, if not better, than a lot of teams in the Big 12. Probably at least half of them in the Big 12. So I could see us scoring 40 something multiple times.
Yeah,
that's going to get people to games. That's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot more fun to watch than a 10 to 13 game.
Yeah, and Big 12 isn't really famous for a good defense, so there's definitely going to be opportunity. If we keep running that type of offense and we execute it like we did at the BC game, I think we're going to put some points on the board. So that'll definitely be fun. So Les Miles was asked in his presser after the game, and it was a great question by Matt Tate because it's kind of on all of our minds because we're not used to this. The team isn't used to this type of win. So we asked him, how do you deal with this? Kansas is used to dealing with losses, so they know how to do that. Obviously, it hasn't been successful because they still keep losing. But how do you handle a team that comes off a big win? And how do you kind of dial them back? Do you have to dial them back a little bit? And Les Miles says, well, I'll just ask them, are you guys good? Are you guys done for the year? You want to hang the cleats up and call it good for the year? And, of course, any player in the right mind is going to be like, well, no, obviously not. So I think that just goes to show just why Les Miles is different. We haven't had a coach that is used to winning so much, coming to a program, our program, that loses a lot, and change that culture. So I think that was a great answer by him. What do you think?
I agree completely. Let them celebrate on Friday night and Saturday, and then ask them that question and go back into it like it. We have the same thing to do again. And I agree. I don't think we've had a coach that has had that mindset for a while. And that's why I think that's why Les is great, just like you said. He's different.
Yeah, and he's been preaching all year in his press conferences. They want to play dominant football. They want to be a dominant team. And you kind of just roll your eyes a little bit. You're like, dude, if you want a dominant football program and you want to be able to dominate a team that comes in to Memorial Stadium, you're at the wrong place. Well, we don't even have to be in Memorial Stadium to dominate a team, apparently, because we did it at BC, and I think that's probably opening people's eyes, and they're like, well, maybe this guy does know what he's talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they dominated enough where there wasn't any BC fan left in that stadium by the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they were gone, dude. Yeah.
Fantastic to see. Man, that was great to see. How long has it been since KU's done that?
Well, I mean, maybe the CMU game, because we beat them 31-7.
Maybe.
But I don't know. I think
I didn't watch like some of the end of that one, so I don't remember that because we were winning and I had stuff to do. So I don't think I watched like the last probably 10 minutes of it, and so I didn't see it. But I mean, there wasn't a single person in that game or in that stadium other than KU fans.
Yeah, it was pretty empty. It was crazy to see. They know how we have felt the last 10 years. So if they're upset about that one game, multiply that by 10 and some, because that's what we've been dealing with. So, but man, yeah, great win. Just shows us the program looks like it's going in the right direction. We have Big 12 play coming up, so we're going to see how things work within the Big 12, see how Les Miles handles that. Hoping to keep this momentum going. But let's talk about West Virginia. We've got West Virginia coming in. They're a team that had a rough start like Kansas. They barely beat a James Madison team. Then they turn around and they get stomped by Mizzou. Disgusting. Sucks. You know, and I don't like either team. So, I mean, that game was like, I would have rather seen that game like a 3-2 score. Like a weird, stupid score.
Like 12-7?
Yeah. Like 12-7. Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for ruining my thunder on that one, by the way.
Sorry.
Yep, 12-7. Oh boy. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so they get dominated in that game, and Mizzou's not a bad team, but they did get beat by Wyoming, so it was the thought that, hey, maybe West Virginia can hang with Mizzou. Maybe Mizzou's not that good, but then, obviously they do dominate West Virginia. And then West Virginia comes back, and they play NC State at home, a team that was highly favored to beat them, and they beat them pretty good, and NC State, I think it was like 26th per CBS, their power rankings. So, I was kind of, it sucks for Kansas because West Virginia is figuring their stuff out a little bit sooner than what we would have liked. We'd have liked for them to wait at least after our game to figure things out, but they figured out against NC State. What are your thoughts on that game? Do you think that's the new West Virginia, or do you think it was a fluke?
It's hard. It's just so hard to tell at this point. Just kind of like it is with Kansas. I think both teams have a lot to prove this week because they have to prove if last week's performance is the team that they are, or if last week was a fluke. And so I think we're going to find out a lot about them. I do think that West Virginia is probably more like last week than what they were against Mizzou. I just even hate saying that word on this podcast, honestly. But
just call it poo-poo.
It's going to be interesting. I don't think NC State's very good, though. I don't think they're that great. But I don't think that they should have lost 44-27. West Virginia had a lot to prove last week after getting their butts whooped, so maybe that had something to do with it. I do not think they are as good as what that score was, but we're going to find out a lot about both teams this week. Absolutely.
And, excuse me, sorry, I got a cold, so my throat got a little tickle there. Apologize. But Neil Brown is a great coach. He coached at Troy and did some incredible things at Troy, so he's going to figure it out at West Virginia. Looks like against NC State, he did figure it out. Who knows? Again, just because you figured out one game doesn't mean you're going to figure it out for every game. There's going to be, some blips on the radar. Same thing with Les Miles. So you can't expect, if we have a bad game after the BC game, you can't just say, we're screwed again. It's going to happen. That's just natural. It's going to take a while to have that consistency of being a consistent good teams. So it's going to take a while for that. So I think whatever team shows up on Saturday that still is playing like they did the previous week, I think they're going to be the team that stands out and wins the game. And I think, like you said, I mean, it's really going to just depend on who West Virginia brings. Is it the West Virginia team that played the first two games, or is it the West Virginia team that played Saturday? Same thing with Kansas. And if they both bring it, that's going to be one heck of a game, And I think all the other Big 12 teams as well, after seeing those two games, NC State and BC, and seeing West Virginia and Kansas dominate them, they're probably a bit worried right now. They're thinking, these are supposed to be the bottom dwellers of the Big 12, and they're beating up on supposed to be good, ACC teams. Do you think they're a little bit concerned at this point now?
Other Big 12 teams? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Like it's other, yeah. I think they're probably looking over their shoulder a little bit, especially with that. Now, especially if one of these teams comes in, they play like they played last week, I think they're really going to be looking over their shoulders. Or even both teams come out and it's a higher scoring game. It's more of your Big 12 scoring game. I think some of them are probably going to be a little bit concerned, especially the ones that are down towards the middle to lower end of Big 12 as well. I'm sure that Oklahoma's probably not sitting there looking over their shoulder at Kansas and West Virginia right now, but in a few more weeks they could be.
Well, I can tell you who Oklahoma's looking around their shoulder at it, and that's Les Miles, because he's done it to him before. And with going into Oklahoma State with a team that just wasn't that great and beat Oklahoma, who was number 4 in the nation, I think it was like 10-13 or something. So it was a real close game, and so I'm sure Oklahoma's taking notice. They're making it a point. They're not going to let Les Miles beat them like that again. So I think they're definitely paying attention. I don't know if many of the other teams, I agree with you, more of the mid-range teams probably are kind of looking back and thinking, that's interesting. But, it's going to take a couple games for teams to really start taking Kansas seriously. So this is a key game for them with West Virginia. But looking at the stat sheets, I mean, it looks like West Virginia, even though Kansas in the CBS rankings is ranked a couple places higher, I think they're 67th. They were 106th last week, which is crazy. It's a huge jump. West Virginia is now 69th, which is
nice.
Yeah, I know, right? Nice.
I had to do it.
But I mean, when you look at the game on paper, I mean, West Virginia has most of the advantage when you put these teams side by side, and they've had a tougher schedule. So for any Kansas fans out there thinking that we could, just because we beat up on BC, that we could beat up on West Virginia, that's not going to happen. Boston, I almost said Benedictine College. My goodness.
That's in Kansas.
Yeah.
And I hope we whoop up on them.
Oh, geez, yeah. But Boston College, they didn't have tape on our offense. They prepared for a completely different team, and they had no game plan for what was put on them because they didn't know that was going to happen. So, good for Les for doing that, but we're not going to surprise West Virginia. They have tape. I guarantee they've watched this BC game hundreds of times, and they're looking at every single thing, every single way that they cannot let what happened to them, what happened to BC, especially since West Virginia is bringing a rush defense that is pretty rough. They're 104th in the nation, which isn't good for them.
Yeah, that's not too good.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But what do you think are keys to the game for Kansas? To make sure that this is a good game for them and to not let it get away from them like it has in the past.
I think you have to sit there and look at that two-headed monster that we have in the backfield again, just like we did last week. They killed it. I don't know if I can expect Herbert to average 17 yards per carry, but I would like it. That was fun to watch. But that's our strength. That's our main strength there. and that's going to be huge. Last week was the first time this year that we won the possession battle. We had the ball about 3.5 minutes longer in the game than Boston College did. That's a complete flip from the first 2 weeks. So we've got to possess it, and with possessing it, you have to have good rush offense, and that's where West Virginia is bad. I'm sure that they're going to be playing into that quite a bit. I'm sure they watched a lot of tape, and they're probably gonna stack the box as much as they can. But as Kansas showed last week with them kind of spreading it out with the 3 and 4 receivers, that definitely opened things up. And then how about those, our secondary catching the ball? Because, West Virginia throws the ball a lot. Last game they threw it 40 times. If we can catch a couple of those, who knows where this game could go. It get us in some good field position, and we've run the damn ball, run it down their throat every time.
Yeah.
I think those are 2 key things, but those are going to be the key things, I think, in just about every game that we play this year.
Yeah, I agree. And you bring up a great point with our defensive backs creating turnovers. If you get a chance for an interception, you got to catch it. You got to take advantage of that. West Virginia, they're 82nd in the nation turnover margin, and KU is 116th. So, West Virginia, they do turn the ball over. I think their quarterback, let's see, he has Austin Kendall. He has 3 interceptions. So and they have 4 interceptions total. So, they do turn the ball over. And so Kansas is just going to have to take advantage of that. And that's how they're going to win these games, is their defense has to step up and create these turnovers. And it's kind of the opposite of last year. Last year we were creating all kinds of turnovers. And I think for a long time we were number 1 in the nation in turnover margin. So this year it's a little bit opposite of that. We're not getting those turnovers. And last game we had 4 or 5 opportunities right in their hands, and they didn't catch it. So definitely that's going to be a big thing in this game for sure, especially since West Virginia throws the ball a lot, and there's going to be those opportunities. But to avoid West Virginia trying to stack the box, we do have to spread the team out on offense, spread that defense out, keep them honest. Don't always run the ball on first down. Kind of change it up a little bit. Make sure that defense is just kind of wondering what's going to happen instead of knowing what's going to happen. But I think it'll be interesting. For sure. So when you look at West Virginia, what concerns you the most about them coming into this game?
Sorry, my computer screen kind of went crazy. What concerns me is probably, I would say that their pass defense being ranked 39th in the nation right now would probably be pretty concerning, especially with Carter Stanley prone to throw interceptions. That's going to be tough. And our offensive line. West Virginia has 9 sacks on the season. That's averaging 3 a game. That's not good to have your quarterback sacked 3 times a game. So our O-line is going to have to step up and make sure that doesn't happen. So that's pretty scary for me, with the way that our O-line has been known to play. I know they played pretty well last week, but they didn't do so hot the first couple of games. But that's a little alarming. That's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'd say that's the one thing that steps out is the sacks. West Virginia has a really good defensive line. They're young, but they're good. They get to the quarterback. And, Carter Stanley, that's when he makes his mistakes, when he gets rushed. I think if Carter Stanley can get outside of the pocket and look to run first, he can limit a lot of those mistakes. And, obviously if there's an opening and he sees, a guy wide open, that's fine, pass. But I think if he's escaping the pocket, a guy like Stanley should look to run first, because he tends to force throws in, and that's where he gets those interceptions. And those can be absolutely just drive killers and can kill the momentum for your team and completely turn a game around. So he has to be really careful about that. And I do agree that, to me, is probably the biggest thing that stands out about West Virginia is their defensive line. So we'll see how Kansas, their offensive line, can hold up. Hopefully, by spreading their defense out, we kind of minimize that a little bit. We'll just have to see, and hopefully Carter Stanley's ready to throw the ball some more, because I'm sure we're going to need him to do that as well to keep that defense honest and not blitzing all the time. So, what are some stats? What's one kind of stat line that you see that Kansas has a huge advantage in that you think they should? And it probably goes. Everybody probably already knows this, but what's one huge stat line that you think stands out a lot that Kansas can and should take advantage of?
I mean, I think we all know what it is, and that's rushing. That's our rushing attack against their rush defense. You pointed it out, I think, on Twitter. You talked about it a little bit earlier. That's going to be our biggest thing. I said that's one of the keys, and that's why it's one of the keys. You said the same thing. We have to exploit that, and that's the biggest difference in just about any category or across the board between the two is their rush defense against our rush offense. We rank significantly higher, and Herbert and Puka they're damn good running backs. They showed it last week, and they showed it the week before. They showed it the week, and then Herbert showed it the week before that. And I think they're going to continue to do the same. So that's going to be the big thing I see. I think you probably agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we're just going to have to. Again, I think it's important that we spread West Virginia out, and it's going to create more lanes for our running backs. So I think that's going to be a huge thing for us. Because West Virginia, they do have a good defensive line, so they're definitely going to come at us for sure. But yeah, spread West Virginia out and just expose them and take advantage of it. And if you run 60 times in the game, give Khalil 25, Puka 25, Dom Williams 10. And if it's working, just keep running, man. There's no need to pass if you're getting 5 or 6 yards every run and occasionally breaking a 15 or 20 yarder. So, I wouldn't be mad if that's what we saw this game. But with wide receivers like Andrew Parchment and Dalen Charlotte, Stephon Robinson, Kwame Lassiter broke out in the BC game. You have guys like that, it's going to be hard not to get them the ball. So I'm assuming even if the run game is going well, we're still going to get the ball to those guys because they're all 4 of those guys are guys that could break a long play and go for a touchdown at any moment. But kind of speaking of breakout player, who do you think this game could have a big game for KU? Kind of unexpected.
Man.
That's a tough one, I know.
It is, because I've been so impressed with so many people so far that I didn't know that I was going to be impressed by. I'm way more impressed with Herbert this year than I thought I was. I knew he was good. I didn't know he would be having a year like he's having. I've been impressed with Parchment. Lassiter had a good game last game, but I don't think that the middle is going to be open like it was last week. So I think you're probably going to see our bigger receivers. Maybe Dalen Charlotte will probably see more of an impact this week than he was last week. He only had 1 catch last week. Parsons going to have a big game because I think they're going to they're going to stack that middle up a little bit more than what Boston College did, because that seems like what KU had so much success with against Boston College. They just kept hitting receivers in the middle, and that's why Lassiter had a good game. He had several in the middle, right in the middle of the defense. Parsons had his he got down to like the 1 or 2 yard line and wide open down the middle. So I think those bigger receivers like our Charlotte, our Parsons are going to be big contributors, but I they're not really going to be much of a surprise, I don't think. I don't really have a surprise because I've been impressed with some people that I didn't know I was going to be as impressed with this year.
Yeah. I would say Mason Fairchild. Kansas is using their tight ends more than what I wouldn't say more than I expected because with the Les Miles offense, he's going to use tight ends and fullbacks. He likes those big, strong guys. So he's going to use them. But Mason Fairchild, the dude is a monster. He's a freshman. And I saw him at Chipotle one time. And this dude looks like he's like 6'7" and 300 pounds of pure muscle. He's huge, man. He's just a giant freaking human being. And I think this game, he could be used. And again, Les loves his tight ends. And we have two pretty good ones. That Luavasa and Fairchild. And I think Fairchild could end up, I'll go as far as saying he could have a couple touchdowns this game, the West Virginia game. Once we get in that red zone, inside that 10-yard line area, those guys become a threat. Those tight ends. And, I think we could see one of those guys really step up big time. But, I think Fairchild, he's due for, I think he missed, or Stanley missed him in the end zone for one play for a touchdown. And I think he's going to be a little bit more dialed in this game. And, I could definitely see Fairchild getting a touchdown or two, depending on how the game goes. But, yeah, I can see him as a breakout guy.
I wouldn't be mad at that. That's just another tight end in there that they've got to watch out for whenever, our team is down the road. I mean, have to watch out for whenever he comes into the game. They can't just focus on one or two of them that come in. That's fantastic. Big freshman in there.
Absolutely. And, yeah, like I said, I saw the dude, and he's huge, so it was just fun to see him out there getting some snaps. And we even saw Gavin Potter and Stephen Parker get some snaps as well. And Stephen Parker had a couple good plays. Gavin Potter, he looked pretty good out there. I think he had a penalty, which I didn't think was much of a penalty. I think he tackled a guy and kind of rolled him out of bounds, but those are always kind of weird. It's not like he's doing it on purpose. He's just tackling. It's not like he's hurting the guy. Something, but that was kind of I think that was either him or Drew Prox. I can't remember. But it was good to see those guys in the game.
I think that was Drew Prox, wasn't it? That was at the beginning of the game? Is that the one you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah, maybe. But I know Gavin Potter, he got a penalty against him at some point. But
Potter had 5 tackles last week, and had 1 hurry.
Yeah, that's big time, man. That's big time for him. So I think he's moving forward. We're going to see a lot more of him. And it was good to see them, for Les to be able to put guys like that in the game and relieve Drew Prox a little bit and Kyron Johnson, because you can't play those guys every snap, every game, especially linebacker, because they're taking so many hits. They're running into guys that are running towards them. And big guys, these big guys, pretty much the size of them. So, especially the BC running backs, which I'm sure probably is a big reason Les had planned to bring in some other guys, because, I mean, you hit those big running backs 10, 15 times in a game, those 240-pounders, man, that's gonna stick with you for a couple days. You're going to have a little bit of whiplash.
And that running back last week, that was a big running back.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon, he's a monster, man. Yeah. But hopefully, I'm not sure. I don't know too much about the running backs around the league, but I'm not sure we're going to be facing a guy that size so much as A.J. Dillon. He's an NFL guy. He just reminds me of Leonard Fournette because he's just so big and strong.
He was impressive, man. We talked about him on our podcast. The week before, we talked about him. We talked about how KU's got to be careful with him, how good he was. But I hadn't really watched him play all that much. I had just seen some highlights here and there. Good God, that guy was impressive. We were all talking about how good he was. He just manhandled people.
Yeah. And which is weird, going back to that BC game, they went away from that. And they didn't have to. They went, so I think a lot of that game, sorry about that. That was my computer. Hopefully it doesn't continue to do that. But, yeah, they went away from the run, which was really weird. That was just a poor coaching decision because A.J. Dillon was just running over us. I mean, it looked like we were just third graders and he was a college player. He was just running right through us. It was insane. And then they had that.
Yeah, but what, by like their, fourth or fifth possession, they started throwing. I think they went 3 and out, or maybe they got 1 first down and then went out. But they weren't out there for very long because they just started throwing it all of a sudden. It was really confusing to me too. I'm glad they did it, but that I think that kind of changed the momentum of the game completely there whenever they did that. Sorry, we're getting back on that Boston College game, but
it's hard not to because it was such a great game.
It is. It was so fun to watch, and then I watched it again yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. I watched the condensed game that Big 12 puts up on YouTube. And if anybody out there wants to watch the game but doesn't want to sit there for 3 hours to watch it, it's 40 minutes long. It shows you every single play. It just skips everything that's not important. It's fantastic to watch. They do it every single game. You can see every play. 40 minutes. You're done. It's over. You can watch it on your lunch break.
Yeah, I made the mistake of watching it on the ACC network. I got a Hulu Live, and I signed into my ESPN app, and I'm sitting there watching it. It's going through all the commercials, all the breaks, and I'm just like, man, this sucks. And then I found out about the YouTube thing. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is freaking heaven right now. So I switched that at about halftime, and I mean, I got obviously through halftime really quick through the rest of the game. So, but yeah, that's it's just hard not to talk about the BC game because it was just so fantastic. And the crazy thing about that game, Kansas did win 48-24, but there were some plays that Carter Stanley was really close to getting picked off, and if BC would have stuck to the run, it could have just as easily went the other way. So there were some things that definitely went our way, but what's different than previous years is we took advantage of those things, and we came to the game prepared. And get
Absolutely.
This. Yeah, and we had our timeouts.
We didn't get the ball back with decent field position and then go 3 and out.
Yeah, those are just killers. And we had our timeouts, all 3 timeouts at the end of the second quarter and towards the end of the fourth quarter. When is the last time that's happened?
Never.
I know, right? Incredible. Just a complete. I mean, it was just weird, man. Just weird to see it. Weird in the best way possible. So, but we'll try not to go back to that PC game. But yeah, I know a little bit more on that game. But let's go back to West Virginia again. So we covered what we could cover on them. So now let's just talk about predictions. What do we think is going to happen? So I'll start with you. How do you think this game's going to go?
I think this one is going to go back in KU's favor. I think that KU is going to win 42-27. I think their offense is going to still come out. I think they're going to have a couple passing touchdowns. The rest are going to be rushing touchdowns because of such a differential there. And I think there's going to be a lot of people there, and I think it's going to be loud. I think it's going to be fun, and I know I'm going to have fun, no matter if it decides to rain or what. It's going to be an all-around good game. I'm going to leave happy. I'm going to leave the game happy. That's the best one. That's the best prediction that I have.
There you go. Did you give a score prediction, or are you not going to do a score?
Yeah. I said 42-27.
Okay, sorry. I completely zoned out. When you started talking about the game, in my mind, literally put myself at the game, like looking just the cloudy sky, rain kind of dribbling down, but we're still out there screaming, having a good time. You took me to a world, and I got lost in that world, man.
a world you didn't know that it existed in this decade.
You're right. Good job, man.
That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to paint a picture.
There you go. You painted a beautiful picture, man. Which I think you gave me the score before you said that stuff, so I don't know what happened, man. I haven't.
You were just imagining. You were just.
I was already
in it. You were in it.
I was, man. I was in it. But yeah, prediction. Now, KU fans may not like my prediction so much. But let me start off by saying this Kansas team obviously is going to get better. We're going to see progress. Having a close game against West Virginia is going to be progress regardless. So that's going to even be positive to see. I don't think Kansas fans should come in here and just expect a win. They should expect us to compete and to have a competitive game and for us to be in the game the entire game. I think that's a step forward. But Kansas hasn't won 2 games in a row of FBS Power 5 opponents since I think the Mangino era. So until they can actually do that, it's kind of hard to bet on it, So for me, I am picking West Virginia to come away with a win, 27-24, by 3 points. But it's not going to be one of those games where you look at it and say, Kansas played like crap. We lost. This sucks. I think both teams are going to come out and they're going to play hard. West Virginia, you're going to see they have a little bit of the edge as far as talent and depth. But it's going to be a game where you walk away and you say, you know what? This is okay. We lost, but this is still a good loss. In Kansas, we can have good losses. We're still at that point where if we lose, it can still feel like a win. And I think that's going to be this game. Even though it's West Virginia and they're having a rough year, but I think that NC State game, they got some wrinkles out, and they're going to come prepared for sure for this game. So, but again, KU fans, don't hate me. I'm not picking against Kansas. Also, you should know that most of my predictions are horribly incorrect. So by me saying this, maybe Kansas will win by 3 touchdowns. Right?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm. That's what I'm kind of hoping. So it's like I'm playing reverse psychology on the football gods. But now that I think about it, I just told them my game plan. So now they're going to just be like, okay, you want 27? We'll give it to you.
Well, KU is 3-0 against the spread this year. So far, the spread is 4.5. The over/under that I am looking at here is 48.5. I think the over and KU will win by. You even said that they would lose by less than 4.5. So right there,
yeah,
they'd still be 4-0 somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't know much about all the betting stuff. I work for KU, so I'm not allowed to. I don't tease myself with that type of stuff because if I participate, I am in deep doo-doo. So we'll move on past that little segment. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, either way, I think we're going to see a good game. We're going to see 2 teams that have had a rough start to the year. They have new coaches. They're going to come into this game. They figured some things out. They're coming off of big wins for their programs. They took a huge, giant step forward. They're going to be ready. They're going to be hungry. It's going to be a hard-fought game. It's going to be a fun game. Yes, it's going to rain, but I think that's going to make it even funner. It'll make it a little bit cooler, so we're not sitting there in the sun melting. So that'll be nice. But yeah, I think overall it's going to be just a fun, exciting game. Anything else you want to add, Ryne?
Not about the game right now. I'm ready, man. I'm ready for it. I can't wait for Saturday.
Yeah. I'm excited for the new Miles to Go episode tomorrow. So that it sucks. It's probably only going to be 15 minutes. They should make that episode at least like 30 minutes. A little bit longer because there was so much.
Heck yeah. I'd watch it. I think every KU fan would watch it even if it was an hour long.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. But, yeah, so that pretty much, we went into depth there. And, again, looks like it's going to be a pretty good game either way you look at it. We're going to be tailgating. I am moving on Saturday. So I can't move in until 10:30. But I'm going to try to get done as quick as possible to get up there to the tailgate spot. And you guys, what time did you guys say you're going to be there? Around 9 o'clock or so?
Yeah, probably between 9 and 9:30 if I heard correctly, which we'll be there. Probably do some grilling in the morning, do a little bit of breakfast and maybe some dogs or brats or something in the afternoon, and have some beer and hang out. Hopefully it's decent while we're tailgating, and we'll be up on the hill.
Yeah, lot 52.
Lot 52.
Yeah, you'll see. And you're going to bring the Hawk Jock flags or banners, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to at least bring the white one to put up that faces the stadium. The other one just gets in the way sometimes, I feel like, so I might not hang it up, but I'll at least bring the big white one that says Hawk Jock on it. It'll face the stadium, and you'll be able to see us from anywhere.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, so if you guys get a chance, you're at the game, tailgating, come say hi. We like to meet new people, so yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, but that's pretty much all we have at this point. If you're not yet, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at TheFitsKU. I have an Instagram, but I haven't really been using it, so I'm not even going to bother giving that. But Ryne, go ahead. Where can they follow you at?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Hawk_Jock, and then if you are on Facebook, if you mainly just do Facebook, you can find us Hawk Jock KU. I post everything, at least all the blogs and all of the podcasts there as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we're excited. Memorial Stadium, get to the stadium, fill it up. Like I said in my tweet, if we get 50K, I will jump out of an airplane with a parachute, obviously, and land in the middle of the stadium. Although I probably wouldn't bet that I would land in the middle of the stadium. I would land somewhere in, who knows, probably the river, the Kansas River, so who knows. But, yeah, so just fill the stadium, guys. I mean, this is what the BC win is what we've been waiting for. So you really don't need anything else to show you that Les is going to turn the program around. That itself was the biggest one we've had in 10 years. So go to the game, enjoy it. It's a 3:30 game, plenty of time to tailgate, have fun, enjoy it with your friends. Yeah, hopefully we see you guys there, and have a great night.